Good morning, and we're live on Augment Your Week, January 4th, 2021. Hard to believe we're here. How exciting is this? We're going to give everybody just a couple minutes to join because we're going to take on a topic this morning that's a little unusual, but it is an absolute key to your success. So we'll give everybody just a couple of minutes to jump on because we're going to go deep into a principle that Og Mandino in the 10 Scrolls has been trying to teach us since 1968. And I saw it more clearly this weekend, preparing for this morning than I ever have. And the preparation for this morning wasn't just being able to visit with all of you, because that was obviously a priority. It's me too. All of us are in this together. We want to make 2021 the best year of our lives. And how many times have we made decisions around the 1st of January? By the end of January, February, they've all fallen apart. Well, I want to take us into perhaps the key. No, not perhaps. It is the key. But it's a little bit of a sensitive key. So if everybody's hanging on, I just want you for a moment to just take a big, deep breath and go into your heart and mind and feel how many times you've been prompted to do something and then you've talked yourself out of it. Just feel that for a moment. It might be a phone call. It might be a meeting. It might be a program. It might be choosing to stay healthy. Just be in this moment with me. Because if we were to, in this moment, hear our dialogue, our habits of thinking, which Og says we have been imprisoned by them. That's the risk. We surrender our free will. That's the first phrase, our free will, to these years of accumulated habits, and the past deeds of our life have already marked out a path which threatens to imprison our future. Okay, I got that. When we listen to Dr. Hartman, who created the math for the Habit Finder assessment, brilliant scientist, he said the objective, the whole reason behind all of this is to become real and genuine and authentic without the need to pretend or impress or feel shame or fear. He called that the highest level of maturity and the most difficult task in our mortal existence. It's the last sentence I want us to focus on, because what we're going to talk about today is the most difficult task in our mortal existence, but yet the single most important key to whether we succeed or fail. So let's start with real, genuine, authentic, real, having relationships, being able to have more conversations, better conversations, more conversations with better people, without all of that hesitation. Well, I don't know enough, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not smart enough. Can you hear all of that? Letting go of all of that and just having conversations. Not focused on us, but focused on others. Where are they? What do they need? Could I listen and lift and build and intrinsically validate them? Wow, that's being real. Genuine, root word genus, which is the root word of genius, which is to embrace my natural gifts, your natural gifts, and bring them fully to the service of other people. Otherwise, we rob ourselves and others. We know this. We don't want to rob ourselves or others, and to be authentic, anthos-hectic, our true self. Well, Dr. Hartman gave us one more piece that's really critical to get to what is this place we're talking about. He calls it the regression of the I. Now, he's a philosopher and a mathematician and an attorney, so just let's look at the simplicity of the complexity of what he said. I step back, and I look at my life. And I decide where I want to make changes for improvement. I make those. And the next day, I step back and reflect on me. And I decide to make changes and improvements, and I do. The next day, I step back and I reflect on myself and decide to make changes, and I do. We could explore how many times could I step back and reflect on me. This is a true concept. I step back, I reflect. We've been in reflection for a year with COVID, have we not? And now amplified by the holiday season and New Year's, and here we are thinking about how we want to take on 2021. I am looking at all of this stuff. But sometimes in the looking, we miss the point. And that's the point of today. We miss the point. I am. I am. Just be with me. Just say that to yourself a few times. I am. Wow. I exist. My heart's beating. My brain's functioning. Blood's coursing through my vessels. Electrical signals, impulses in my body. I am. I feel. I see. I think. I am. This is where we want to focus for a moment. Because when we find this person, it's this person who will want to make the commitments for the change. Often, and way too often, what Barry Michaels and Phil Stutz call our shadow self, all that negative dialogue, we have identified with it so closely, we think that is us, and it occupies the vast majority of the time in our head. Our shadow self, our unhealthy habits of thinking. We've surrendered our free will to it. We're held hostage. I remember a single moment in my life that was life-changing. I'm going to share it with you this morning. I wrote about it, and today I begin a new life. But it's where my heart went today because I remember it like yesterday. And it's time for each one of us to have this moment. Because when we can have it and we can feel our true self, which is a really good person, a kind person, energetic person, courageous person, our true self, when we can find that, we'll understand what OgMent meant in scroll 9. At the end of the scrolls, I will command. I will command. And I, my thoughts, will obey my command. I will act now. Because we hunger for success. We thirst for happiness and peace of mind. But until we find and own this peace, there's very little use in making plans, especially resolutions, because they won't be kept. Not unless they're being made by and kept by I am. Now, I happen to believe in a power greater than myself that can inspire and encourage and empower, who is the source of the gifting. But it is imperative that I am owns I am, and from here can make the decisions to move forward. Now, I'm going to tell you the story in just a moment. Precursor. When you study the scrolls, the 10 scrolls, every single one of them is designed to help you find I am. Today, I begin a new life. Today, I shed my old skin, which had too long suffered the bruises of failure and the wounds of mediocrity. Today, I am born anew, and my birthplace is a vineyard where there's fruit for all. I will greet this day with love in my heart, agape love. I'll see people differently. I will persist until I succeed. I'll be like the mariner who learns his skills by riding out the wrath of the storm. I am nature's greatest miracle. Can you feel it? Since 1968, he wrote it in 67, published in 68. has been wanting us to find this peace in us. Because he knows that when we find this, we'll see the darkness for what it is. And we can make resolutions and keep them, set goals and accomplish them, identify dreams and create them. That's not done with our unhealthy habits of thinking. That's done by I am, for me, in partnership with a power greater than me. I am. Can you feel this? You go through each one of these scrolls. I will live this day as if it is my last. I will become the master of my emotions. I will laugh at the world. I will multiply my value 100-fold. I will act now and I will seek guidance. That's what the scrolls are trying to do, is to wake up your I am. So you stop being controlled by your unhealthy habits of thinking that have become, in too many cases, the dominant voice. Now the story. I was in the 9th grade, lived in Alabama. That prior summer, I made a decision. I was going to join the football team because the prior year, I was getting bullied by someone who was on the football team, and I thought, well, if I join the football team, he'll leave me alone. I know I joined the team. I know I practiced every day. I know I played in the games. In Alabama, junior high school fields have lights. We had Letterman's jackets. We had cheerleaders. But you know what? Even though I got a letter from Woodland Junior High School, Woodland Junior High School, Huntsville, Alabama, doesn't exist anymore. Even though I have one, I don't have a single memory of that entire football season. Not one. Not one. I can remember playing football in my yard with friends, getting ready to play football. I remember signing up for a Little League team once and then bailing out before it started. I remember those. But I don't remember one moment of that entire season. The only thing I can chalk it up to is that I was living in such a deep sense of fear that there's a mental block because of the fear. I do remember the coach asking us, anybody who wants to play in high school, they'll want to go to spring football practice. They'll pick us up in a bus, take us over to the high school for spring football. And I agreed to do that. And my wonderful sister and mom took over my paper route during that time so that I could actually participate in spring football. I remember making that decision. And then I remember this day. I'll never forget this day. I could tell you how the buildings were constructed. I can still see them. I can still smell the grass. We were doing a drill. I was a guard. I wasn't very big, but I was slow. So I got to play guard. It's a pulling guard, for those of you who understand football. And in this drill, there was center, a quarterback, and a halfback. There was a guard and a defensive end. The idea was to practice pulling, going down, and blocking the defensive back. Now, he knows you're coming. It's a drill, but you're practicing all of the pieces to make it run as smoothly as possible. And I was standing in line. It wasn't very long, and it was going to be my turn. And I remember I woke up. First time. Been so buried in childhood trauma and frustration. It woke up, and this is what it was like. There was like a voice in the distance, just a whisper. And I could feel it getting closer and closer and closer until it just filled my soul. That's how my I am woke up. It's like the fog cleared. and the fear dissipated. And although I was 5'10" and 150 pounds at the time, I felt like I was 6'5" and 275. I just felt so strong, something just so powerful. It became my turn, and we went into our stance. They hiked the ball. I turned, went down, and I knocked the defensive back on his buttocks. Now, he wasn't expecting that because he'd been practicing with me. But the coach went crazy. Yes, he grabbed my helmet and pulled around because on medical tape was the name Blanchard, as with all of us. Blanchard, do that again. We did it again. I didn't knock him down this time, but I did block him. Something had happened. And from that day to this, there are very few things that cause fear. I felt I am wake up inside of me. Well, they said they'd allow 3 players at the beginning of spring practice to play with the varsity. When the roster came out, there I was. I got to play. I remember that night. I remember the grass, the stadium, filled for spring football. Filled. It's Alabama, of course. That was why my nickname was Bama Boy. When I went to Colorado that next summer, we moved. I was Bama Boy, but I still remember it. I still remember playing, and I still remember doing a trap block. It was a disaster, but I got to do it. Came to Colorado, worked with a landscape company, played football, ran track. Incredible experience in terms of no fear, just no fear. Found out that when you run full speed, there's less chance of getting injured. I am versus your unhealthy habits of thinking. Just felt impressed this morning that if we're going to start this year, 2021, and there are things in our lives that we would like to have different, might be our economics, it might be our health. For me, this is a year of health, recovering from a bilateral pulmonary embolus, put on a few extra pounds, getting off of the blood thinners and getting back into an aggressive exercise program and eating well. Yeah, that's the plan. Personal health. I am needs a healthy body. What's yours? And would it serve you to go back into the 10 scrolls, starting with scroll 2? Read scroll 1 a couple of times just to know why you're doing it. Then to go into scroll 2 and let it feed your soul 3 times a day, because it will waken I am. That's what it does. It awakens I am. It raises your consciousness to a level that can shut off your unhealthy habits of thinking so you can show up, the real you, the good you, the kind you, the fearless you. And let you show up this year in 2021. Now, at first, it's going to be hard to be there all the time. But get here sooner. Scrolls can get you here. If you've got questions about those habits of thinking, then get into the Habit Finder, habitfinder.com, take your assessment, and find out what habits of thinking are screaming so you can hear them more clearly when they are screaming, so you can step back from them and take control. I am. And as you listen to these scrolls, listen to them differently perhaps than you ever have before. Awakening I am. Awakening the real you. Because you can do this. You can. Your unhealthy habits of thinking are probably going to sabotage everything if we keep listening to them. So at least 3 times a day, get back here, stay here as long as you can. Then get back here again, stay here as long as you can. And the more time you spend here, the more exciting it's going to become to spend time with the real you. May I be so bold? In conversations with a greater power, truly available to partner, truly capable of creating anything you want to. The only limitation we place on ourselves is our unhealthy habits of thinking. I was reflecting on this morning, and I'll close with this. But I don't know how to do that. Shut off the noise and go learn. Let's go learn. I mean, simple things. We've got a snowblower. I got done cleaning off the driveways with the tractor yesterday, got out the snowblower, fired up on the first pole. Reason why, son-in-law helped Ramona a couple weeks ago when it wouldn't start. Just got on, Googled it, got on YouTube, and there was a YouTube video on that make and model and the problem starting at the first time in the year. Can you believe that? Watched it, knew exactly what to do, started right away, and has started ever since. We have so much information available to us to learn anything we need to learn. So there's no limitations to that. So if you don't know it, go find it out, figure it out. If we got fear that we don't, we're dealing with those habits of thinking, because I am doesn't have fear. I am is an intentional creator. I am takes its gifts and magnifies them in the service of others and the creation of good things. You ready? We can talk about everything else for the rest of the year, but very little is going to matter if we don't awaken I am. Are you sick and tired of living in your unhealthy habits of thinking, wallowing, even snorkeling in the manure of life? It's time to awaken I am. Your true self, your real self, your authentic self, your genuine, real self. And when you awaken this, make some decisions this year for what you're going to do to stay here in I am, in creation of your goals and dreams. Much love, everyone. You've been on my heart all weekend as I've been pondering this. Have courage. Take this on.